Hi, and welcome to In the Front Row, all things reactions, reviews, and interviews. My name's Jamie Lee, and today I'll be doing a review of episode 2 of The Last of Us titled Infected. If you've been to my channel before, you know I did a live reaction to episode 1, and I really enjoyed episode 1. I thought it was a near perfect pilot episode, just came out with a bang, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So episode 2, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't think it would be as good. I thought it would be on the back seat of things, like a little bit slower paced and just not really as exciting as the first one was. But boy, was I wrong, and boy, am I happy to be wrong, because I just remember after it ended, I was sitting there and I just kept repeating, that was incredible. Like, that was incredible. And I just kept saying it over and over because I couldn't believe that an episode could be that good. I thought it was scary. I thought it was funny. Visually, I thought it looked beautiful. There were so many good things about that episode. I cannot fault it. I cannot find a flaw in it at all. I'm really loving this series, and I will tell you why. I love the characters. I think that the characters are really interesting, and I think that the whoever casted these characters did a really good job. I haven't played the game, but to me, I feel like these characters just gel so well. The chemistry between them is just so good, and I know that Bella and Pedro have worked together before on Games of Thrones, which I haven't watched. Yeah, I know, whatever. But even with Anna, is it Anna Torv or Anna, however you pronounce it, even with her added to the mix, their chemistry is just so good. And it doesn't even have to be like with the dialogue. It can be little looks or just expressions on their face, and you totally get it and you totally feel it. And I just think casting and the actors in this are really, really perfect for their roles. Visually in this episode, I was amazed a lot. There were so many times where I was gushing over a scene, which I do not do in zombie movies or shows at all, like ever. Like, I don't think I've ever looked at a shot and gone, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful, in anything that's supposed to be like dark, apocalyptic, like full of destruction and just broken. Like, I don't think I've ever saw a shot where I've gone, oh my god, that looks insane, that looks amazing, or whatever. The scenes themselves, yeah, I enjoy, but just I was gushing over some of these scenes and how they were shot. Like, look at this scene right here. It just looks so beautiful. There's a butterfly floating around. The grass is lush and green, and everything is light and beautiful in this world that is supposed to be so dark and grim, you know? Like, it just looks great. And that's really refreshing to me because it's not something that I ever see or talk about in a zombie series or in a zombies movie. So seeing that is super refreshing, and it's just so beautiful to look at. I also really like how every week so far anyway, we haven't just been dropped straight back into the action and where we left off the following week. It starts with like a sequence of backstory or some sort of scene to give us a little bit of context as to what's going to happen in the episode and to make the episode flow, I guess you could say. And I really like that. So we start this episode in Indonesia, where the most qualified expert in fungi, I guess you could call her, she is assessing this dead body, which is supposedly containing the cordyceps parasite. So she's, checking to see if it's real because she doesn't believe that it can live in humans. And she cuts open the lady's leg, and inside obviously something is growing. So she then goes to the tongue and cuts open the tongue, and then you see the tendrils just start like sprouting out. And it's just so scary because, the realization to her, she was shocked that this happened. So that realization that, this parasite can live in a dead host, it was really scary. And something that was also super depressing was her conversation after, when they were talking about, have you found a vaccine? Have you found a cure? And she said, there's no vaccine. The cure is bombing. Like, start bombing. That's the only way you're going to get rid of this. And that is, what a downer. You know what I mean? Like, that just, it was just so depressing to hear that sometimes there is no cure. Like, sometimes your luck has run out, and for her to accept that was really, really upsetting to see, and to see that she just wanted to go home with her family. That was very sad. But not only did that give us a little bit of backstory, but it also set up a little bit of context for when we did get into our episode, and Ellie was talking about big craters in the ground if they were made from the bombs. And then Tess explains that the military were bombing to try and get control of the infection, and they were lucky, but other places were not so lucky. So that gave me sort of a little bit of backstory as to episode 1. My fault was like, how did the military contain everything? How did they get this under wraps? Because there was this massive time jump of 20 years and we don't know what happened in that 20 years. So I'm really glad that, you know, we're getting this little bit of, just tiny bits, but little bits of backstories to what did happen. I really liked that. Then we dive into our actual story. Tess and Joel are talking about her being the cure, and, you know, he says that he's heard all this before, and you can just see how closed off Joel is to anything, opening up, having hope. He's just a really broken man, and I like that they're showing that in these early episodes so we get to know him a lot better. As for Tess, I feel like her and Ellie had a lot of respect early in the episode, because it seems like Tess is talking to her like an adult, and I feel like that's what Ellie wants. She wants to be respected as her own little independent young lady, not this child that maybe she's been treated like before. I'm not too sure, but you know, she's just been so contained, I'm guessing. And it's really nice that Tess is sort of treating her like one of them and acting like, you know, she's capable of doing what we're capable of doing, sort of thing. That's the impression I got anyway. So it seems like they were forming a relationship and getting like a really cool bond happening between those guys, which was really cool. I thought it was quite entertaining to see Ellie so enthused about seeing a zombie outside of the walls. You know, she's been so contained and so sheltered from the outside world that, yeah, I thought it was really interesting and exciting for her to be super excited and super keen to see them, whereas most people would be like, I don't want to see them. That was really fun. So they make it to the hotel and they head to the roof so they can scout out what's the safest way to get to the state house where they're meeting up with the Fireflies. And when we get to the roof, we see that massive horde of zombies, and it is super cool to see them just crawling on the ground, like super connected, not running, not frantic. And it was really awesome, I guess you could say, for Ellie to sort of get that realization of like, shit, there's a lot of them. How are we going to get around this? And yeah, for her to just realize that it's not all fun and games. In that time of realization, Tess explained to Ellie that they are all connected, and that like one touch can literally awaken another horde of zombies. And that was pretty much foreshadowing what's to come later in the episode. So that was a really cool moment there as well. So they head into the museum in order to keep making their way to the Fireflies. And this is where we meet the clickers. And oh my goodness, I thought the zombies from episode 1 were pretty cool. These guys are terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And they just make these like clicking sounds. I'm not even going to try and replicate it, but it is terrifying. Like to sit there, not only to see them, like just the sound alone, you are just in suspense and waiting for what's going to happen, where they're going to come from, what are they going to do, and it's really scary. So I really enjoyed the scenes at the museum. Everything there was, I was just on edge, and everything was intense there, so those were really good moments as well. During that time, Ellie gets bit again, and so they keep a close eye on her as they keep heading towards the state house. It was during this time that things were a little bit off with Tess. You know, I was sitting there thinking, has she been bit or something? Like, why is she so angry all of a sudden? Her mood just switched, and we find out in the next scene that, yes, she was bit. And I thought that was a really awesome scene because, you know, she was just fed up and she was so angry and exhausted, and you could see that. So Ellie called her out and said, oh my God, she's infected. And Joel sort of took a step back and couldn't believe it. And I just thought that was really awesome for her, for Ellie to acknowledge that, because that shows how broken really that Joel is. You know, he just can't see things clearly. He can't accept things. And it was really, really sad when Tess was giving her speech about, I've never asked you for anything, like take her to, I don't know the names, I can't remember, but take her to somebody. She is the cure. Like look at her bite compared to look at my bite. And obviously Ellie's hadn't grown at all. So she is some sort of cure or has some sort of antibodies to prevent her from turning into a zombie. But hearing that speech from Tess saying, you know, I've never asked you for anything, I've never asked you to feel the same way about me, that just gives a little bit of backsight to us, which is another question that I was asking from episode 1, like, how did they get together? Are they like romantically together? Are they boyfriend and girlfriend? Because that's my brain and where it goes. So yeah, it was really cool to sort of hear her, even though it was very sad, it was cool to hear that they were romantically involved. And obviously he was so shut off because he's so traumatized from what's happened in his past that he can't really open up and can't really feel things, I guess, feel love, feel compassion, feel empathy, feel anything. That's what I'm gathering anyway. I don't know, I've never played the game, but yeah, from that speech alone, I got a little bit of backsight into Joel and his personality as well, and their relationship. So that was really good as well. Seeing Tess die the way that she did was extremely heartbreaking. I know that I've only met her in 2 episodes, but my God, was that enough time to make me fall in love with this character? Because firstly, I didn't want her to die. I mean, again, people from the game probably know that that's going to happen, but like we've had two major deaths in 2 episodes. It's like, oh guys, you ain't playing around. Like nobody's really safe here. And yeah, I just thought that the way that she went out, like with that zombie just putting those tendrils into her mouth, oh my gosh, I was crying. I just felt so sad for her, and all I kept thinking was she doesn't deserve that. Like please let that lighter flick, please let her blow up, because she deserves much more than that. So I was really glad when the lighter flicked, and that's how she went out, and that's how we ended the episode. But oh my gosh, what a disgusting scene. The zombies were disgusting. That scene alone, that I don't want to call it a kissing scene because that's not what they were doing, but that transferring of the fungi was disgusting. It was just totally gross, but at the same time extremely heartbreaking and a really important scene. So although that episode ended on a downer, like it was really depressing how it just ended like that, I gotta say there were some funny moments in this episode. Like it wasn't all scary and, you know, depressing and gross, if I could call it that. It wasn't all like that. There were some really funny moments, and what I really like in this show is that the jokes land, whether it's in the dialogue and you're laughing, or whether it's purely a look between two characters. Things stick, things feel authentic, they feel funny. You know, Ellie talking about killing zombies with a sandwich because she doesn't have a gun and Joel won't let her have a gun. It's funny, you know, things like that. Just little moments throughout this episode. I can't even think of them all right now, but just so many moments that were funny, and it just works. And another quirky little thing that I found really fun too is when the score was getting really dramatic, and you know, everything was like low and intense, and then you've got this little frog just like hopping along on the piano, like obviously pressing the low keys, which is why the tone was so low. Oh, it was just fun. Everything about this episode was fun. It was scary, it was fun. I gotta say, I'm loving the episode so far. Maybe next week is the week where it's gonna take, you know, a backseat and be a little bit slower and not as exciting, or maybe it'll surprise me again and totally blow me out of the water, because I'm loving it. I really like this series. I'm really loving both episodes so far, but I couldn't fault this one. I thought it was perfect. So if you like zombie apocalyptic, like survival series, give this series The Last of Us a try, because I guarantee you will enjoy it. I am loving it. Let me know in the comments if you have watched episode 2 and what you thought about it all. And if you're not already, please subscribe to my channel, and can you give this video a like, and then head on over to my Instagram and give me a follow over there as well, please. Okay, sweet ads, have a good day. Bye.